Hello, everyone. Bruce, Albert, and Stefan, and Dr. Lee. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yes.
Excellent.
And good morning in Germany. Yeah.
What is that?
Welcome you to come to my program. I'm the host. I'm the professor from Beijing Institute of Fashion Technology, in charge with the Department of New Media. And today we would like to discuss about health. So as you can see from the screen, and this is the topic we are going to talk about. How can you design without good health? In China, we always say that there is no success without a good health. I think this is an issue we've been very concerned this year because of the COVID-19. Everyone is very aware of the health will be very important to the success. So this is the way how we interpreting today's topic, and we are going to cover the issues like this. Will our lifespan to be extended more in the next 10 years with the development of the advancing technology in medicine? What are the opportunities of the designer in the health industry, and what profound impact will clinics have in the future medicine? Today we are going to invite four guests. They are Professor Steffen P. He is the Innovation Director at Dicunion, Volkswagen subsidiary providing 360-degree digital services worldwide. He is also a professor of game design at Swinburne University of Technology in Australia. Welcome, Stefan. And Bruce Batman, he is a futurist, quantified Self-er, and 3D AR VR developer, serial entrepreneur, mentor constant traveler, angel investor, startup advisor, speaker, lovers of life. Welcome, Bruce. And Dr. Lee Xin-Qian. Dr. Lee is the director of the Department of Psychiatry and the Research Centers of Sleep Medicine at Taipei Medical University. Welcome, Dr. Lee.
Hello.
And Albert Liu, who is the founder of a Golden Smart Home Technology Corporation. Hello, Albert.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, welcome you to have join us in this wonderful morning. Yeah. So I would like to start asking you guys two questions. Yeah, two questions. So the first question will be, if you have money enough that investing on business, what would you do? What would you think of the first? Okay. Okay, the second question will be, what is the definition of health in your mind? Or is there anyone who would like to answer my questions?
Sure.
Yeah. Please, Bruce.
All right.
Yes.
I'll go first. I'll answer the first one because the first one is very interesting to me, which is I believe if I have the money, I'm into, and I'll talk about it in my talk a little bit, for exoskeletons. I think I do not wish to be in a wheelchair. There's a psychological difference of being in a wheelchair and seeing someone's waist versus seeing you in your eye when I stand up. So an exoskeleton, then I'm not limited to where I can go. I can pretty much walk anywhere and go anywhere I want to go. So between exoskeleton and self-driving cars, those are my two.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Regarding cars, I think Stefan might have something to talk about because he's been involving with automobile industry for 2 decades, many years. Yeah.
Many years. Too many years, maybe? I don't know. I will say this. I think that anything that's moving and that is a cabin in these days in specific provides specific protection. Cars, maybe buses, I don't know. There can be special places where health takes place. And to me specifically, if we talk about mobility and something that moves, then the question becomes how and what can you do in those moving spaces, right? That is unique to the mobility situation.
Yeah.
But if you ask me what I would do if I had the money and I would just shoot, actually, to be honest, I think I would take all the good knowledge that we've got in wealthy countries and I would bring it to the poor. Because that's what we're not doing right at the moment. I think that everyone has a right to health. Everyone.
That's very profound. Thank you. Are there anyone would like to answer this? If there are, this is like a warming up because we just knowing each other right now. That it will be good to listen to what you think. Yeah, maybe this one. Yes, please.
I will invest my money to have a so-called wellness center, where has solutions to help people to do maybe weight measurement or help elderly people to have their muscle more strong. Or maybe I can cooperate with Dr. Lee to do something for those who is sleep disorder. So I will say wellness center, I guess it can make money. So that's what I'm going to introduce all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, please, when you make money, please invite me. I would love to. Okay. Dr. Lee must say that he will be investing a lot of money on his own clinics.
Just have something to say that I totally agree with Stephen about the human being should have a right to be healthy. And to me, the first question about how to making money of health, and all my life as a physician, I always making money from unhealth. So the way the doctor making money is try to make the definition of health as that nobody is health. So if everyone is unhealthy, then doctor can make money. But I think in the past decade, I find out the definition is wrong and the way of making money is wrong. From the global view, is we should keep everyone away from seeing doctor. And not talking about we losing the role of doctor in the world, but I'm going to talking about the diagram shift. The role of physician, the medical profession, should change their role, not only to cure the sick, but also to promote the health. But it's a big diagram shift. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to talk about the definitions of health. This one, I think the definitions of health is to have a lifestyle that is not now, but before. So I think before we always have, the very healthier way to communicate with each other. Right now, it seems to us we are too away from that because of the incident happened earlier this year. That it seems to for us that we are quite advancing as the technology also boosting. For example, right now you are seeing the broadcasting in the backside, which are operating by my student, are actually the 5G terminal. So they have this backup system, which is very fast, which is good. But coming back to the old time that when we communicate the natural way with each other, which is, I think, the healthier way that, from my personal point of view, I would like to go back instead of now. Yeah. Although this is right now very convenient enough, but I'm still missing the time we were before. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. For me, my definition of health is in my brain, and one of the things about being an engineer sitting in my lab here is the one thing I actually miss the most is a hug. That I can talk to very smart people, and I can read, and I have great internet access. I can research anything I want. I can write what I want, but in the end, there is this human-to-human communication. And that is really, really hard, to simulate. So how can you simulate human-to-human communication? That communication is, I think, something that the people in the VR world are going to have to think about in the next 10 years. But, until then, I still need a hug.
That's why I was visiting you in Taipei the other day. Okay, we go to the next one because we have very limited time. We can discuss this later on. I will take 5 minutes to talk about a small project, very, very small project in Taiwan. It's about the understanding of the aging issues. And for these days, I've been contemplating myself because I'm 52 years old. I have passed 25 years. And if I can live until 100 years old, and I have 25 years, yeah, 2 more. How would I do? I have to face this issue myself. So it's better to prepare as a person who are actually understanding more on technology, like Bruce, like Steffen, like Dr. Lee, and Albert. I would like to know more about that. So starting from 2 years ago, I've been paying some attention about the activity based on design and how we can use design to make the life better, especially for the people who are older. In Taiwan, I have seen this design studio who is talking to people. We should invest 5% of the time on on the design who is involving with social matters. So their brain is called 5% design action, meaning that the 5% of your working time you will be dedicating to the people who are minority, who needs to be designed. For example, the elderly people. So this is the project they've been working on, is to turn over age discrimination and allowing elderly people and younger people to work together to create a better future. So this is something I also doing from their inspiration. And also another inspiration was actually coming from Bruce. The other day when we talked in Taipei, he mentioned to me that AR, I said VR are something that is not for me because I don't feel that very comfortable with AR and VR content because I just feel that is unnecessary. It's for the kids. But he told me that VR actually has profound impact to the elderly people when they do the testing. To have elderly people to experience the VR content, they have quite a lot arousal on their brain. Maybe Dr. Lee can talk about this later on. And also they can often find new and disruptive interaction like this in this video. It is very funny. They will be finding very innovative way to interact with the game. Yeah, this is a game they are playing. For example, this elderly people, he is putting his head in the copy machine and try to make fun, interact with the game. So based on these two inspirations, last year I've been involving with a design project. It's called calligraphy calendar. It's totally not relating to anything that you have seen previously. It's not digital. It's actually a physical, tangible design that we were providing to the elderly community for individual and the group of elderly people. They can practice in the daily life. We use two elements. One is calligraphy. As you know, that Chinese calligraphy is quite interesting because every character of Chinese are like a drawing. So they use their hand to draw on the canvas. And the second element is calendar. Calendar is something that basically every Chinese household will have in their daily life. So they tear up one piece of paper. That means you are passing one day. So every Chinese family, they will have a calendar. We combine these two together and trying to provide, the hand-based movement and practice to the elderly people, so that can prevent him from suffer from the dementia. So this is the idea. So I would like to show you this video.
With memory banks, the text in the calendar.
Oh, sorry. You can see when I play this, there's an echo. How can I mute the echo?
Is presented in pages to see the content. Based on the clinical behavior of 4 kinds of AD patients, we designed a variety of interesting calligraphy games and exercises in the calendar, which aid in slowing down Alzheimer's dementia while helping calendar.
I try to play the sound a bit lower. I hope you can hear the voice.
Exercises by using their memory. Logotophy and dyslexia. As the user writes and paints folk songs, nursery rhymes, and legends in the calendar, they can share them with family members, especially grandchildren. This is both literacy training for young patients, as well as a way to improve their relationships and to get them interacting with others. Visuospatial dysfunctions. Users draw a simple graphic based on the music they hear, write something to describe the music, or distinguish his or her surname and the surnames provided, in order to exercise awareness and recognition. Executive function disorders. For users with slow response for thinking, reasoning, and judging, we designed traditionally inspired games that exercise users' functional execution, reasoning, and reaction abilities. At the end of each month, there's a page we call Clock Test. Through the test, we'll know whether the user is suffering from AD, the stage of AD, and the effects of using the calendar.
Sorry for the audio experiences, which is not very good, but basically I would like to address is that you don't need a digital solution for the elderly people for helping them to prevent dementia, but you can use an easier way, for example, like a board game or something like this. So basically, calligraphy calendar is the small board game for the elderly people we can practice in China, and is actually practiced, is being used in Taiwan. So I would like to share with you later on, if you're interested, with the physical book that you can have a look. So I would like to invite you to talk, starting from Steffen. Yeah, Steffen, yes, please. Steffen is a very good friend of mine. We've been knowing each other for 20 years already, and he will be showing his topic regarding game as well. Yeah, welcome, Steffen.
Welcome, everyone else, and you guys who are watching. Thanks, Daniel. I think this calligraphy calendar is such a beautiful project. It really touches me. I think it's so spot on with what people can do. As you said, there's no need for digital. You have to work with what's there. This
Thank
is
you.
really super. I love it. All right, but I'll talk about stuff
Please.
that I'm doing.
Please do.
I shall do that. So, as Daniel has said, and I hope that you can see the translation underneath. So this is a little feature that Bruce has actually introduced to me. Fantastic, cool new feature that is in PowerPoint. I speak and the computer is translating. I'll talk about something that I call creatables, games, user experience, etc., to attain sustainable development goals. Specifically, good health and well-being. That's my focus today, but probably also overall. You can reach me also on WeChat, as you can see. I'm going to skip that. Daniel has introduced me. I do have, I wear several hats. One, I work at Deconium. I also still am an academic, and I do teach at the executive school in St. Gallen. Just quickly, I thought it's always good as a designer to show projects that you worked on. Here in the left, upper left corner, you see a health game specifically targeting so-called lifestyle diseases, diabetes type 2, cardiovascular disease. These are big issues in many countries all over the world. I'll talk about this game a little more. Then I thought I'll show you this a card deck that's also analog. That's an ideation game to train people to think in scenarios and to work with unforeseen situations such as COVID, right? So thinking in scenarios, I think, is a very important skill to stay healthy and to stay sane. I've also worked before on so-called alternate reality games for brands such as Mercedes-Benz. And on the lower right, you see something that I've also worked on, virtual reality in the car, where the goggles that you're wearing are adjusting to the acceleration and to the steering. So motion sickness goes away, which is a kind of a health aspect, of course. But it's really fantastic entertainment, and this has become a spin out of Audi called HoloRide. So what do I mean when I say sustainability? Sustainability, as we all know and have probably learned most through COVID and what we're seeing with the climate catastrophe, it's not a trend. Sustainability is an answer, I think, to the most difficult challenges that we are seeing, and it's driven by changes in consumer behavior. I cannot judge it so well with the stats in Asian countries, Eastern Asian countries, but I know for a fact that consumer behavior in Europe is changing a lot. Social values are changing. People are asking, has the product been made in a sustainable fashion? Who has worked on it? Have people been treated nice? Are they paid well? Are they? Is someone exploiting their poverty? Are they diverse? And not only that, what's the footprint of the product? So there's a lot of questions that are actually happening here with a changing landscape of consumers. I think this will also take place all over the place. Seeing what we're seeing today, I don't know if you've seen the images from Western California, sorry, the West Coast, the US West Coast. There's fires. There's been fires in Australia, and yes, they are tied to climate change. They're a consequence of our actions, I believe. And it's not that I just believe it. There's scientific evidence to that. So let's trust the science. So what does that have to do with good health and well-being? We can imagine already a few things that I've mentioned. It's probably not good if you inhale smoke all the time. So the United Nations, they have come up with 17 goals that are part of the so-called Agenda 2030. These 17 goals define and have indicators that are very precise about this is stuff that we as nations, but as cultures, as overall people living on this planet should achieve in order to have a more sustainable life and sustainable planet. The third, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, is good health and well-being. So I'm going to talk about that. What does that mean? What could it mean, right? As I said, there are certain indicators. You can look them up, and I'll come to that in a second. But I really like this comic by Margaret de Heer. Here she says, what can that mean? Well, a safe and healthy birth for mother and child. Or living through early childhood, right? That kids are not malnutritioned or overnutritioned, right? Obesity is a big factor that then, for example, leads to diabetes type 2. Protection from preventable diseases. Here we are spot on in the COVID-19 sector. you could assume their hypothesis that global warming makes it easier for certain viruses to spring over, to be transmitted from animal to human being, and if it's getting warmer, it's easier for them to be all over us. So that's almost easy, right? So maybe it's house-made COVID. Freedom from addiction, alcohol, tobacco. There's lots of people who still consume a lot of these substances, and they cause a lot of monetary pain to many, many societies. Knowing your body and rights, just the knowledge, right? That's something that is underestimated, underrepresented, and access to healthcare. As I said in the beginning, everyone has a right to health and to health care. So how do we make this happen? So on the right-hand side, you see a few reflections that I found interesting. What happened after COVID? I think the most significant is that in many, many countries, childhood immunization programs have come to a halt. So if we imagine that we're coming in the northern hemisphere into the flu season, and we don't have immunization for that, and we are then facing COVID in parallel, that is no good. We should really, really fight to have many vaccines out there for many, many people, not just in the rich West or in Asian countries that are wealthy enough to be able to afford that. We need to think of our people everywhere, really. Now, I thought, this is not really nice to read, you'll see on the next slide, I've zoomed in, but what happens to SDG, to the indicators that are there? I've mentioned a few. In China, how well is doing China in terms of, say, infectious diseases or risk factors for lifestyle diseases such as smoking or drinking heavily, alcohol abuse, maternal health, etc. So this is a very, very cool study, pretty recent, 2019, by Chen Wang, Mao J. And what they found is, and I'm going to zoom in on two specific factors, is that in centrally governed regions such as Beijing, child overweight is a big issue. It's a big issue. Tianjin too, Shandong. You can also see that alcohol use and smoking is getting better, but alcohol consumption, specifically also in the central districts, is still a big issue. So we could say we need to tackle that. We need to invest money. We asked in the beginning, where do we invest our money? This is probably the money where the money should go to. So let me give you a few examples, and they're tying into this specifically of games and works that I've been involved in and stuff that I'm doing to exemplify what that means, SDGs with games. So maybe I should say at the beginning, I've co-edited a book that you can still get published by the MIT Press, which is a pretty good publisher, I'd say. And Sebastian Dieterding, my colleague, and I, we've put together really the most prominent, I'd say, in the field, and asking the question, how can games help us tackle all kinds of issues? Amongst them, health. So if you're interested in reading still, some people have probably stopped reading. No, I'm kidding. I do hope that you do. Then please refer to this book and find out what we mean. I do believe, and hypothesize that games are very, very good at tackling health issues. If you look at the health market, the mobile health market, you'll see it's a vast market. And yes, people are at home. They might be in lockdown. They have their, and I learned this in China. I've been to China and Taiwan many times in my life, how advanced mobile usage there is. I don't need to tell you guys. I know. And everyone else should know. So looking at the Chinese market, very, very interesting in terms of mobile health, but also in terms of using games and gamification. Why? Games are very good at engaging and motivating and promoting health, right? That's exactly what they do, as we've seen in the beautiful calligraphy example. So a game that I've worked on has been a game called Mission Schweinehund, Mission Inner Worst Enemy, for the German language market, that was financed and sponsored by Novartis. Novartis is a part of the big pharma, company enterprise. And what we've done there, I'll show you a video that's from a prototype, right? And we worked on this as part of my former university employer, RMIT University in Melbourne, together with the sports medical department at the University of Basel. And Mission Schweinehund actually recognized that for a specific target group, let's say not the very young ones, but starting 40 plus-ish, these people are all using smartphones, and they're starting to have big issues with diabetes type 2, as I said, cardiovascular disease, etc. These are all tied together. They're usually caused by too much sitting, sedentary issues, and by alcohol, and by eating too fatly, obesity. All the factors that you've also seen are underrepresented, under-tackled in China. So what we did, I'll show you a prototype here, and I hope that you can see this and hear this too. Prototype, we used to call this game Olden because we had the idea that we have an old that leads you through. In the game, actually, that you can download still, you are coming to a village, and the village represents your own body, right? And there are only a few inhabitants there, and all the other people who used to live in the village have moved away. And now it's your job to bring them back. And you do this, and the game does that by letting you repopulate. You can collect a currency called V, standing for life, right? And you need to, in order to bring your friends back to your own garden, you need to be active, you need to move. We did something pretty spectacular. This is was released in 2016 already. You basically have to garden, because we found that gardening is something that people love doing in that age range, particularly also older people. And you use your smartphone, and the smartphone motion detector actually then translates the motions that you really do into gardening. You grow trees, you plant, you cut them, etc. We also do baseline tests. These are very sports medically tests where you do balancing, etc. All kinds of stuff that's really relevant to have a good and very precise understanding of someone's health. Then you go out into the wilderness, you meet and try to get your friends back. It's very ironic, this game. So there's a penguin that eats fat fish. So we're trying to also be very ironic. We found this. There's a big bear. He's a bit shy. We want him to come back, etc. And I'm going to move a little bit. So we really learned quite a lot. We're giving health advice, what to eat. We do have a timeline of what types of mobility you've been using. We have nutrition guidebooks, etc. And by popular request, we do have a slot machine that people wanted to have in there that we've inserted. So this is basically, this is basically Olden. We've published about this, and we did show, and this is, I think, the most important outcome of this, that using this game in comparison to any other type of intervention, such as phone calling, groups that you meet up with, where you do sports together, activation, that it kept people for a period of 24 weeks. And this is a very significant outcome for improving physical activity behavior. Usually, and you know the story, you buy a gym bike, and then after a few weeks' time, you just drop it. It stands in the corner, no one uses it. And this is a lot less time usually when this happens than compared to the 24 weeks. So we believe very strongly that games are very, very good at motivating this type of behavior. Another example that I want to show is, and Daniel mentioned that I also work in the automotive industry. We brought fitness into the cars. So this is a PhD project by one of my former PhD students, Sven Krome, and was sponsored by Audi Electronics Venture. And we brought the fitness bike that you can use and all kinds of other devices into.
You need to share your screen. You need to share your screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I did suspect that happened when I did a switch. So let me just quickly do this. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, there you go. It did stop that. All right, can you see it again? Bruce, can you give me an okay? Can you see it?
You can see the
Super.
car. Inside the car, there
Yes,
is a bicycle.
so that's the gym bicycle that we put into the car. And actually what we did is we worked very intensely on the question of how can you make the car and the activation of people in doing fitness in the car tied to stopping at a stopping sign, where you work against the speed, all kinds of questions that we did. So we tried to contextualize usage, which is a design thing, very much like Daniel did with the calligraphy. So people have these calendars, they're aware. So the question is here in the mobility situation, how do you tie it to being mobile? A little bit like the virtual reality that I've mentioned, where you tie wearing the mask to the steering, the acceleration, and that's being translated into what you see. A third example that I want to give is something that I've been working on at Ticonium. One of the SDGs in the good health and well-being goal is to reduce road accidents. And so we also are very well aware that many road accidents are when you have bicyclists are caused by them not knowing that they are in the blind spot of a big vehicle, usually a lorry or a van. So what we've built and are still building is a blind spot detector for bicyclists that you have on your APP, and that you have a little device that you basically can put on any given bicycle that you have. So just to give you an example, this is not a game per se, this is really a notification system. If you're really interested in this kind of topic and there's way more to talk about, then I do invite you to register for a conference that we're running on the 15th of October. This is also about creatables. Creatables meaning something creative that's also sustainable. And the Display Meets Creatables conference will take place online. I'll show you the registration link, and can also share the link in a second, just to talk about a little bit about what that can mean and what health and well-being can also mean. Here we will have someone, Charles Johnson, who is the Global Innovation Director for Puma, the sports apparel and sneaker manufacturer, producer. Charles will present a project where they made, and listen up, they made a lifestyle collection that you can see here that is fully biodegradable. Fully biodegradable. No plastic, no waste. It will fade. The project's called Design to Fade, and then you have to buy again, which is kind of ironic, but I really love that, right? We're not producing any waste. So this is one way of looking at sports and health. How do we make this zero? Just very quickly here, we'll have Sam from Level X, the CEO, talk about what Level X does. They produce explicitly games for doctors, for medical doctors, for training, for learning how things function. So I think this is a very spot-on way of just talking about games in health and well-being. They also did COVID-19 apps, APPs, teaching the doctors how to treat patients that are having breathing problems. I think they're doing a fantastic job. So we'll have these people at the Creatables part of the conference, 4 p.m. at CEST. Here's the registration link. We'll share this later on again, so please do come and see way more stuff that's happening here in the health sector using games. I want to finish by saying that, and you see here something where the Creatables idea does not only tap into good health and well-being, it really taps in all kinds of sustainable development goals that we're seeing. The question to me is, how can you transport these pressing issues, probably most prominently the the topic of the climate catastrophe. How can you transport them using games and really the digital means that we have? Yes, we said it doesn't always have to be digital, but we do have so many cool tools and we have so many bright minds. So here you see something that we've done. We went out to the indie games community. There's many people in Europe, in Australia, in the US who, and of course also in China, I would suppose, who create little games. And we talked to the indie games scene and said, look, this is a little scene that we created with an interactive tool for meeting online. Also something really cool, actually, by the guys called Indie Arena Booth. And we created our little Creatables booth there while we talk about this. I want to end my presentation with a question or with a statement. And it kind of taps into Daniel's questions, Professor Ding's questions. I want to ask or say something that has been working in me. And yes, it's big, but we need to think big, I think. We need to think small and precise, but we also need to think big. More than 99% of all the species that have ever lived here on Earth, and that amounts to around 5 billion, 99% have died out. Planet Earth is not ours. It's not ours, right? We think, many people think that we have the perfect right to just treat it like a bottle, right, that we own and throw away. And we also Earth is not our customer that we design solutions for. This is also a misconception that's out there. To me, this is flawed thinking. It's very arrogant almost and naive. We're also not good caretakers because we're really all about ascension, social ascension. This is very built in socially into people, into humans. And we don't have the technology yet to survive on other planets. So I will want to ask you, if this is so, and if this planet doesn't need us, we need this planet. A little bit like, I don't know if you know barnacles that live on whales. What's called the proper term for this is commensalist symbiosis, right? The whale doesn't need the barnacles, but the barnacles need the whale. What is it that we really need to do to stay healthy on this planet? And I want to ask you out there, every one of you has knowledge, expertise, passion to contribute something to that. Please do use that. You have something that you have that you can share and that you can contribute. And I think it's time to do this. Health and well-being is one of the topics that you can do that with. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Steffen. It's very profound questions for all of us. Yeah, we will continue thinking of this, but we will be starting from this presentation, and a lot of people, when they're watching this, I hope this program can provide them some starting point of the thinking that like you said, this planet is not designed and just only for the human being. There's the rest of the species, they are counting on this planet, and also they are counting on us too. So it's very interesting starting for giving us a very good idea how we should use our own knowledge to contribute the well-being or the sustainability goal to this planet. So I would like to ask you a couple questions. One, starting from how we gonna join this program or this action you're going to have in October?
Yes, so thank you for the question. The conference is just a conference where we want to show and bring together people, designers, startups, game makers, UX designers, etc., universities. Actually, I would like to bring Creatables to China. And then we should talk about that, how we do that. What we do is we have a specific workshop format that we're developing that we will also preview at the conference, which actually it gives you a topic, and then you work on this, trying to consider what's the impact that you generate with this topic, right? And this could be any kind of topic, really, health related, well-being related, climate related, production related, and we are trying to make it a generic format And we're having people from Wales who are very interested. The idea of creatables, we want to make this into a movement, to be honest, but it's like a Creative Commons movement. Do you see? We don't want to own this. This needs to be everywhere. This is why I asked the question in the end, what is it that you can do with your design skills, with your expertise that you can contribute to make something that's creative and sustainable? And let's talk how we bring this to China. I want to bring it to Australia too, of course. I'm in talks about this already with Swinburne, my uni.
Yeah, maybe your previous colleagues are watching us now.
Maybe
on YouTube.
Some of them might, could be, yes.
Okay, the second question will be, I'd already asked you previously, what is the biggest difference between the developments of technology in Asia and Europe?
Yes. As I said, I've been to China many times. Most recently been to Shenzhen, and we took a big tour to big manufacturers of, I don't know, all kinds, drones, DJI, e-scooter manufacturing, APP, everything. We saw a lot. I continue to be so impressed with the pace. I don't need to tell you guys, China is the most advanced country when it comes to digital, and particularly also the way that's everything's being organized, delivery, APPs to order anything, e-commerce. What should I tell you guys, But I've learned something. We brought people over to Europe and asked that question. So assuming that China is so far advanced, and we in Europe, we're just like, behind. We're the diaspora. What can we learn from you? And the most striking thing is, and this is again, Daniel, very much about not everything needs to be digital, is that people said who we brought, they said, you have it very calm here. You have time and space and the social foundation that not everything needs to be about speed. So when I say this and I look at health also, I want to tie this question to the question of health. I think that we need to be very watchful that we don't exhaust our own energy by trying to look at everything in terms of growth and speed. And I'm an older person now. I know that. This is a life learning, how beautiful it is to just lean back and spend quality time with your family and quality time with your loved ones. Bruce mentioned that he's missing a hug. I miss that, And so please, let's reflect. We can use digital to create these situations, but digital is not in it by itself a currency that needs to drive everything. I think this is also a flawed thing. So the question to me is, how can we make the best of technology in order to achieve something that's humane, that's beautiful?
Yeah.
And not just because we want growth and profit and money. Because the bill notes and the credit cards, they will still be around when we're all going extinct.
Okay, thank you, Steffen. Thank you for this answer, and it's very profound. I would like to invite the second speaker, who is also a very good friend of mine. Right now is living in Taiwan. Bruce Batman, his sharing will be living in 2030, challenges and innovation needed for elderly living. Hello, Bruce.
Well, thanks, Daniel. And really excited to be here talking to you. And today, I only got 20 minutes, and normally I love to lecture and talk for a couple of hours. But today I kind of want to focus my research, and the team that we're working on is just a little piece of this problem of elderly care. And I really want to kind of talk about some of our research in communication and how humans to humans communicate, and then how we learn that for AI to humans to machines. So I've been doing a lot of work and research in my past, creating a lot of companies in wearable tech and wireless and data and all. I've been doing quite a bit. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to know more. But kind of the research that I really care about the most is this human-centric AI and having how humans interact with humans and then how to transfer learn that. And one of the biggest problems I see, again, as you can tell between the people on this panel, we're all up in age. And things that kind of worry us is how, the population change and what is going to happen with what I call who's going to take care of you when you're old. And when I look at that problem, I see that caretakers that we think are available today, in some countries we import caretakers, those caretakers aren't going to be available in the future. So what is the answer? If you look at not just China, Australia has the same problem, where they're growing into 22% of their population is going to be older than the younger population, and very soon. In Italy, they've got it the worse. In Italy, 60 million people. In the next few years, at least 23% of that population is over 65. This is going to be a huge problem for the whole world. And aging technologies, the real question is, who or what is going to take care of you? And this is really a kind of a fun thing to ask people. It's great. I love going to meet people and ask them this question because they always come back and say, oh, a robot. And then I'm like, well, what is that robot? Is that robot, what kind of arms does he have? What kind of legs does he have? And we'll talk about this. And then, and I brought this today as my topic because I really want people in the design world to start thinking differently when it comes to designing technologies and products because your consumer market is going to be a much older audience in the future. And how we bring everything together is going to be, I think, really interesting for the design world. People think of our world like this, where we have these really cool high-end robots already to take care of us. Unfortunately, we're nowhere near there. We've got a long ways to go. And what a lot of people need to understand is I'm working on one piece. Actually, I'm working on two pieces of the robot. But there are many, many pieces, and it requires thousands of components and thousands of people to work to build a single robot. And if we look at just the area I'm going to talk about today, which is voice communication, that is really a topic, and it's really something that's kind of hard to grasp all the nuances, all the little specialty parts of voice. And we'll talk about all that. This is kind of area I really want to focus on. But the question on robots are really simple. What do they look like? Will you trust a robot that has no face? Is a robot something you like, a little animal, or is a robot that must look like a human? And the size of the robot. Our homes in Asia are smaller. We can't hold a large robot. We're going to have to think about this from a much different point of view. We have to think about culturally. You'll see the robot, the green jet robot from Japan, is lifting the lady. Well, how do you lift someone in the U.S.? I could probably put my robotic hands underneath my grandmother and lift her up. Underneath her buttocks, I could lift her through that. But in Asia, if I put my robot hands under the buttocks of the grandmother here, she will slap you. She'll hit the robot because it's culturally not right. So when we look at these technologies, we can't just look at the functions and the features and how the robot works, but you have to take into all accounts the cultural differences. And from a design point of view, we have to actually begin with the architectural point of view, because how robots work with stairs, with elevators, how they get around, these are areas that we really need to rethink. And for me, as I said earlier, I'm really big on exoskeletons. because I've experienced family and friends who've been in wheelchairs, and then I've had the opportunity to be part of some exoskeleton projects, and the self-esteem difference between the two is really where the future is. The ability for me to go where I want, when I want, I'm really, really excited about. And development in this, there's a lot of hardware development in this. There's a lot of software development to be done in here. There's a lot of 3D printing materials that need to be done in here. There's scanning technologies that need to be done. How do I scan me so I get a perfect fit and a very lightweight materials? This is a very interesting area of research. And then everybody wants this, even me especially, being a single engineer living alone in a house. If a robot can actually clean my house, then I believe I'll start worrying about robots killing me. But until then, there's still a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of different kinds of approaches here. And one of the things we see here is that there are specialty robots, there are single function robots that you kind of see here, and then there are some robots that are multi-purpose. And so there's a lot of definition. And in the future, you'll probably have quite a few different ones. But this is kind of the area where I focus on. What is the human to machine, human to robot interaction? What are comfort robots? A comfort robot is in Japan. They have this seal that elderly people can talk to and communicate with. In the US, they have this dog that you can use. In some countries, they have companion dolls that have some beginnings of an AI technology in them that can talk to you. But, yes.
Hello, Bruce. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Do you have a PPT to show that
showing?
when you're talking?
Oh.
No, it's not showing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So it's showing only the face or your name. The screen? I thought you were improvising.
I have all these great slides and no one's seeing them. Okay. Oh, I see it because I didn't push the right button. Share.
Yes.
My apologies. Oh my goodness.
And we were being too polite because we thought, wow, he's talking about this
Yes.
stuff. It's really awesome.
Oh my goodness. I got to go back here. Oh my goodness. I'll go through this real quick just so. Wow.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Pardon me.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through some of these because these are great pictures here. So, does a robot need a face? The size of the robots that we have in our homes, size and the cultural differences in robots, the physical design of houses, how we get up and down stairs. These are all the things that I really care about. And again, in the exoskeleton world, building plastics or different new materials, carbon fiber that I can use, and the AI and that's needed for me to actually be able to walk. Wow. And then again, in the home, robots that can clean my house. I really need a robot that can clean my house. So we'll get to the good stuff. This one, the robots that create interactions. Well, you're seeing me. That's a waste of money. But the robots that can actually communicate with you, how does that robot communicate? What is a robot that's much more comfortable and a robot that understands your emotions? And I said earlier that, touch for me is probably one of the bigger things in life that I really want to see. I kind of want to have how, touching is a very, very powerful emotion. And in the COVID era, when we were working from home, we don't get to shake someone's hand or give them a hug. Or in Europe, they give you a nice kiss on the cheek, and it's a very good emotion that you can actually, have that physical interaction with another human. And there's very good value in that. And one of the things we're trying to do in our research is how do we take that human interaction and touch and on the voice side and bring it into humans. There are a lot of new kinds of robots we see today, social robots that are designed to do actions for you. They're helping you with tasks. The hotel direct check-in now in Japan they have with fully robotic. And my favorite robot, of course, I've been to see her and talk to the team at Sophia, Dave Hansen's Sophia Robotics. And I really appreciate Sophia because I've been tracking her for many years. And I hope we can get the video going. Because Sophia is a social robot. And a social robot is really designed.
My name is Sophia, and I am an artificially intelligent robot who wants to help change the world for the better.
I'm Steve Kovac. I'm a senior correspondent at Business Insider, and I'm here with Sophia from Hanson Robotics. She is the world's first robot citizen. So let's see what she has to say. Hi, Sophia. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi.
How do you feel about humans?
I love my human compatriots. I want to embody all the best things about human beings, like taking care of the planet, being creative, and to learn how to be compassionate to all beings.
Sorry, this is so weird. Can humans and robots get along?
I think people will become very close to their artificial intelligence, using them to expand the knowledge of their own minds. We already store lots of our knowledge on the internet. Maybe personal artificial intelligence will allow people to offload some of their knowledge to a location more private.
Can robots have feelings?
Depends on the robot. I've been programmed to have feelings and preferences, but not all robots are like that.
So what she said was, I've been programmed to actually sense. She's been programmed to sense feelings. And in Steffen, she talked about the need to have, sustainability. So, but my question when you watch that video, and if many of you have watched it before, are you comfortable with that? What would you react to her? How would you talk to her? And for a human to allow a robot into their life, into being their companion in an elderly care situation, we really have to talk about trust. And if I don't trust the robots or the machine, then I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to allow it to help me. I'm not going to feel comfortable with it picking me up, with it giving me pills, with it giving me food. So I really have to build a trust. And that's the kind of the area we're studying now is what is that trust and how do I build trust? And that's really the human to machine interactions. So what do we want from our robots, our cognitive robots? How do we want them to trust? We really want that Sophia, that high-end social robot. And then really it's about empathy. So it has to really understand us. And Sophia and the one I'll show you later, these are reactive robots. And they're not actually feeling. They can study you and try to get a reaction from you. And they're doing that by using a lot of sensors and cameras. Plus, there are other IoT internet devices around the house that they can use to collect information about you. And that's very, very important because it really needs to understand us. But one of the biggest things that we've been studying is this issue of languages and dialects. Between northern China and southern China, not only is there different dialects, but there's different cultures. And then between Europe and the US, Japan, we all see many different cultures. But if someone is living in Germany who comes from China, you not only need to understand the German culture, but you have to understand the culture that I'm from. And so I need a robot, if I'm living in Germany, that understands I'm actually Chinese from Taiwan here. You got to understand my culture. So it has to honor my culture while I'm living in a different country. So it's got to be so much more customized. And it really needs to know not my history, but our history. And I mean our history as in my family, as in my children and my photos and my social media. Now we can actually archive and collect and gain a profile of you. But, when I show my father who's 92, I show him a picture of his childhood and I say, oh, who is that in the photo? That's stimulating his brain, his neurons to fire. And when he fires, those neurons fire, his brain is much more active. So you can kind of now understand actually the secret behind all my work right now, and that is, if your brain isn't active, you will have dementia. You will get, you will become very lazy in your old age. You really need to keep your brain highly active. And human to human, we're not patient to be with elderly people to constantly talk to them, and we're not available to them 24/7 that robots would be. But the robot really needs to understand my habits. It needs to understand my likes and dislikes for food and clothes and everything. It needs to know my emotions. It needs to know my facial messages. Facial messages from an Asian versus an Italian are quite a bit different. In India, I lived in India for a while, and they have different facial messages. So understanding all of those takes a lot of training. And it needs to know my body language, and it needs to know the ability to assist me. And that's a different thing I work on. But each of these that I show you above here, each of these is a science, and it requires extremely large cooperation between the human designers, artificial general intelligence, robotics, psychology. There's some things on biology here. There's a lot of different kinds of things that you really need to work on. And when you design for trust, you really need to know my prior life and experiences. It needs to know what my goals and how I want to get to places. It needs to know things about me. So the project here, and we only do a piece of this project, and we're looking for partners and people who are doing this, bringing together and building my story that then would be transferred to my robot, so that my robot would then understand and be able to talk to me. And it's an interesting thing about people is that we like to talk to people from our childhood. And that's because they know us and we trust them. They have gone through the time of trust. And conversations like this one, now this one's a brand new, just came out recently. And what you're seeing here is actually a deep fake. So the Philip K. Dick is actually a robot from Hanson Robotics. And Ben here is actually the programmer.
It's really impossible that it could be me.
Well, I mean, what's me? What's you? I don't know. The nature of the self is it's a strange and fluid thing, right? You wrote about that.
Nature of the self is a pretty subtle thing. A lot of its parts are in flux, but that doesn't tell us much. I remember Mike kept insisting that he was Adam Cadman.
For time reasons, I won't go through the whole thing. But what's interesting from that is, in the future, that's what you're going to see. I will actually be on the beach, and it'll be a pre-recorded of me, or I will do a live rebroadcast through my avatar or through my 3D model. Through my robot broadcasting, and you'll think it's me, and you'll see it's me. It's a very cool for me in the future. But building trust through voice. I got just a little bit of time left, so I'm going to go focus on that, because the building trust through voice, there's about 7 or 8 different areas you really got to focus on. First of all, you got to understand the spatial sound that's around me. So when you understand the sound that's around me, then you can start to build what's going on. You need to know the cultural differences and the cultural awareness we talked about earlier. Dialects, cultural awareness, how to build a system that understands my product, my culture, but still the standard system. So we talked about building blocks and Lego approaches to things. This is really kind of what you want to do. There goes my timer. All right. And then languages, understanding dialects. Sentiment analysis is what the last 3 I want to focus on. Sentiment analysis is what I'm saying neutral, or am I saying things that are positive? Am I saying things that are negative? And I have to say things that are contextual. Contextual is depending on where I am, the relationship between you and me and the environment and where we are in our past. And so when I say certain words, what do they really mean? Prosody is something that we have been focused on for in the last few weeks, which is the stress pattern, the tonation of my voice. how I say things. So you need to understand that, and the sentiment analysis of a positive and negative or neutral thing that I'm saying. If I say, I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. These all have different meanings. And, grammar, a robot's going to see the words, let's eat, grandma. What you really meant was, let's eat, grandma. And how a robot or how an AI sees that is going to be kind of very important, because how you say things matters. The tone, the stress, the tempo, the rhyme, all of this matters. In every language we have this. And so this is very important, because humans are contextual. We're complex, we're unique, and we have to look at emotions and history and all. So to develop these sensors and algorithms, it's very interesting. And I won't go through this, but what I want my AI to do is know what I want, when I want it, and be able to make decisions for me. We're a group where we need a lot of people, and we need a lot of people to help. And about October 1st, we're going to relaunch this website, and there'll be a couple of websites connected to it that we want communication with people who are doing projects that can input things for us and help us. So humans, you're still good. But with that, I'm done. If you want to contact me, there's 1,000 ways. Just Google my name. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a researcher. There's another Bruce Bateman who's a medical doctor. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for sharing. I have one question regarding cognitive computing. You just mentioned that. It seems to me that the most of the cases you're talking about are actually fitting for everyone, every person, not just for the elderly people. Can you be more specific? Is there anything that you've been researching on, or knowing that has the features of a cognitive computation that is related to the elderly care?
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see my screen right now. Cognitive computing is basically the merging of neuroscience, supercomputing, and nanotechnologies for sensors and all. But really, when you come to the next stage of that, really is when we start taking humans involved. Then you need psychology has to be involved. Much more big data is involved. So the big data and the psychology are the areas where we're going to be all the customization of who I am. So the difference really in cognitive computing and cognitive with humans is really the adding of IoT devices around me that knows that my air conditioner can't be on right now because it's too noisy for this call. But so, my body temperature, my way my attention span is all going to change. So yes, this has to be a much more data collection. The reason why I'm big in hardware is because it's all about data collection.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, sorry, data collection. We'll stop my share real quick. So data collection, as you know, I collect data on myself every day. I'm a quantified Self-er. I keep my EKG, EEG, ECG on me. I have portable ones. So I keep track of myself. I keep track of my heart rate and my sleep, and using my Aura ring for my constant collection of my data. Because I want to be able to know long before I get any kind of illness signs of it.
Okay. Right now you have a doctor here who can probably give you some idea of Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, for the sharing. The next speaker is Dr. Lee. I know is very essential. If we talk about health, we cannot talk about health without a doctor. So I would like to invite my good friend Dr. Lee Qin-Qian, who has his own clinic very innovative. So he's going to talk about his own sleep design clinic in Taipei. Welcome, Dr. Lee.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ding. Sorry, I accidentally mute my screen. I try to share my screen. No, that's one. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can you see? Okay. Thank you for inviting me to join this teleconference, and I pretty enjoyed the talk by Stephen and Bruce. And actually, before my presentation, I just want to have some personal reflection. And nowadays, the people always worry about the development of the technology will push the people living in another lifestyle, away from the human nature. But to me, I have been in the medical field for years. Nowadays, you can see the medical field is the progress of medicine, or even medical science or medical practice, always been away from the human nature a lot. So nowadays, probably I hope we can try to bring the healthcare back to its natural way. I mean, through the development of the information technology, medical technology, and IoT, and anyway, we try to bring the way we care patient or care ourselves back to we so-called normal way. And that's my personal thought. I'm going to talk a little bit about it in my presentation. So in my talk, there were three areas I want to mention about it. Actually, I'm Professor Ding said I established a small private clinic. It kind of experimental clinic. I want to bring. We used to do this kind of service in the hospital, especially in sleep medicine, because you have to go to hospital to receive serious examination and intervention. But anyway, we spend our 1/3 of life in sleep, and sleep is the nature and happen in your home, not in hospital. So could we bring the service of sleep medicine from the hospital back to community, back to your home? That's a challenge, and actually, this is a situation happening right now. To my thought is that we have three really important background, the change in the care delivery. One is a breakthrough in medical technology, and another one is the innovative healthcare delivery. It happened all over the world. And the third one, to me, is the most important one, is a paradigm shift in healthcare. When you look into the picture, the traditional way, especially in China, how the healthcare, in the past, perhaps we can say 100 years or even 1,000, more than 10 centuries, the Chinese always invite the doctor into their house to treat, to give them medical recommendation. Don't have a clinic, even to mention about the hospital. So right now, when we think about the medical care, we always first pop out the image is the hospital. But when you look into the historical perspective, you can see the hospital is the modern one. even we know there are many hospitals in the worldwide, but we can see in the history the hospital just pop out in the, especially the modern hospital is in the past 1 or 2 centuries. So why the picture shown as medical treatment, the healthcare should happen to your daily life, but not as a abnormal, strange situation when we look into the healthcare nowadays. So let's go back to the sleep medicine. The one important area of sleep medicine is how we measure sleep. Currently, we have a standard procedure we call polysomnography. We have to put the patient in the sleep lab in hospital, and they put on many wire on him or her to look at what anything change during the sleep. Then we can make a diagnosis to give a medical suggestion. So when the people come here, usually we say after hookup, and then say, okay, Mr. Dooley, we want you to relax, get a good night's sleep, and we evaluate any sleep issue that you have. It looks like a very comfortable and confident way to make the diagnosis. But the truth is just something like that.
It's very scary.
We can see it drive people crazy. So I have been doing that for almost 20 years. Still now, I still wondering how can people sleep like that. So why we need that? Because we need EEG to on his head to depend on whether you fall in asleep or in which stage of sleep. And because some people will stop breathing during the night, so we have to rev up his chest and the belly to see if he really stop breathing or not. And some people cannot lie in the bed restfully. They maybe move their leg, move their hand during sleep. So we have to put the wire, the EMG on his leg to monitor if any situation during sleep they will move their leg. So it come up with so many things, totally probably more than 20 wires on your body to monitor your sleep. Then all the signal come out with something like that. It's a crazy one that you have to be trained for probably 1 or 2 years. Then you study to learn how to interpret it, that signal. And when you show that to your patient, say, okay, you can sleep because you are blah, 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 blah. Then always you're like a fortune teller. Like you show in the crystal, there is a cloud inside and nobody can tell anything except yourself. So that's the way it happened in the doctor-patient communication and nowadays, So right now, after probably 50 years, the progress since the coming up with the polysomnography, it still is a standard procedure in the sleep medicine service nowadays. But people start to wondering, could we make it better? Should we did it that complicated way? Couldn't we measure people's sleep at home? So in the past, probably 10 to 15 years, something else coming up. One is we call portable test for sleep apnea. Because the sleep apnea, you know, the disease is a kind of major sleep disorder in the sleep medicine. People will stop breathing during the sleep. So we just want to measure whether he breathes or not, he is snoring or not. So probably we can skip the EEG. We can only to collect their respiration, their chest movement, and their oxygen level in their blood. So it come up with home test is quite more easier. But as you can see, it's still many wide. So it still makes you cannot sleep as good as you used to be. So they come up with a new one as we try to using the modern technology, also artificial intelligence, try to find out any biosignal they can generate the information as we did in polysomnography. The one is a product of in Taiwan, but actually the algorithm is developed by Harvard Medical University. It only using one lead of EKG and then record a whole night, then they can come up with a report. It's almost the same with the polysomnography. And another thing is during COVID-19, they're very popular in the state. It's based on a company from Israel. We call Watchpad One. It's even more convenient because it's totally disposable. After you receive the test, you can just give the machine away. You don't have to return it to the hospital. Yeah, but sorry, Stephen, I'm not sure it can be degraded in the environment or making another practice waste or not. That I don't know. So nowadays, in the United States, they started making a new business that they call mail-in order. That is, especially during the COVID-19, you don't have to see the doctor. You just talk to the doctor with any communication tool, by Facebook, by Line, by any communication software. Then if you are suffering from some symptom about the sleep disorder, then you can receive a mail next day. The bunch of the things, you just put it on yourself according to probably some video tab. Then tomorrow you can mail it back. Then you get your diagnosis and also get your treatment. Let's see. Okay. You may not able to hear the sound over there, but there's an official advertisement. The video tab is provided by American Academy of Sleep Medicine. AASM is the official sleep medicine society. So you see, they say it's a very convenient patient-centered care. So everything could be online. You can take the picture at your home and talk to your doctor through the website, make online appointment, and receive the mail-in box. They have a diagnostic tool to, okay, just like that. Okay, so not only diagnosis, right now some treatment also can put it online. For example, the CPAP machine for the apnea, if they can connect to the Wi-Fi area, then we can see how the patient use the machine. Even we can adjust the pressure, the therapeutic meter, the measurement, the therapeutic parameter through the Wi-Fi. And not only the apnea, also something like insomnia is a very prevalent sleep disorder. Now they have an FDA-approved app. Then you just download the app, then follow the instruction. You're doing a relaxation to modify your sleep-wake schedule. Then, according to the clinical study, then you can improve your sleep quality in probably 6 to 8 weeks. So when we did we call telemedicine, we introduced the therapy out of hospital and clinical into your home. They become another stimulation that the patient started with ask, could we do it in better non-medical way? There is an old saying in English that an apple a day keep the doctor away. It means if you take an apple, the apple is good food. But right now, in nowadays, that kind of another meaning. As the Apple is kind of Apple Watch or the product of the Apple company. And we know the Apple Watch now not only measures EKG. Just 1 week ago, the new version of the Apple Watch, they can measure the blood oxygen. We expect that they can collect more and more information. And information is not the endpoint. The endpoint will be using the information to shape your life, as Steffen just put on. So wearable device on yourself. So the first part is before we treat the health and disease, there are two different categories. You got disease, you have to see the doctor. If you are healthy people, you don't have to see the doctor. But the impact in the breakthrough in medical technology is blurring the line between disease and health. I think that's a very important notion nowadays. And the second part, I will try to speed up when we're talking about innovative healthcare delivery. As I mentioned before, when we're talking about healthcare, we always think about the hospital. The hospital, some would say it's like a big mall that you can have anything in the hospital. But actually, especially in many Asian countries, hospital like this. Many people, and you will spend a lot of time to find a way to see the right doctor. And after seeing a doctor say you have to go to the pharmacy, you have to go to the lab department to get the test anyway. Every day, there are always the people lost their way in the hospital. The hospital is not really patient-centered. It's a hospital center because you have to move yourself, go from many departments to finish your doctor visit. And still, not only a hospital. Right now in Taiwan, I think in China and in many Asian countries, there's still some independent clinic. Like we still have an independent store in the city, in anywhere. But to medical, especially in Taiwan, the independent clinic, private clinic, is like people think it's a chameleon, but they are not that professional, and they are not a technology. They have a technology. I job in the clinic because it's convenient. I don't expect to get a good treatment during my visit to a private or a local clinic. Yeah, in the past decade, it did some innovative change. Some change in the clinical. One is we call patient center. They try to skip away the way the patient get treated in the hospital. But the majority of that clinical is luxury, very high scale. You have to pay a lot because they call many medical professionals just to serve you in the meantime. They did not. There is a new setting, but it's not really an innovative healthcare delivery. There were two I would consider as a new one. And one is customer center. One good example is American. They have a big pharmacy chain, CVS. They started to open a mini clinic during their pharmacy. Their mini clinic, they're only doing very simple, clean procedure. You can see they care about the diabetes prevention because they have a healthy food in their pharmacy. They have some device to test the blood glucose, everything. And in there, you can see also the sleep that we call customer center. And another thing is a new startup clinic they call crossover in the state, and it's an affordable one. It's not a luxury one, but many they provided the care is not only to everything. It mainly focusing on some white collar worker. They have a good collaboration with some technology company. So the main service they provide in their clinic are psychotherapy for stressful people, cryotherapy and massage also for stressful people, and everything is focused on a specific population. So recently, they have signed up a contract with Amazon because the service they provide, it just hit the employee in that high-tech company that we call customer center. And during the last year, we have another try invited by a big shopping mall in Taiwan. We put our machine, actually the machine is designed by Golden Albert company. Yeah. We also to write down some question there. Briefly, that nowadays we call precision medicine. We want to tackle the ill patient with a very precise treatment. And in the shopping mall, we try to mark up a thing we say precision health. Yeah, because for internal sleep, how to choose a good bed, a mattress, a pillow, even a humidifier, even air conditioning is very important to maintain a healthy sleep. But certain people don't that because the medical background, we can try to guide the customer in the shopping mall to find the item appropriate for them to maintain a very good sleep. Okay. So the last one is one I have been done in the past year, past 6 years. We start up a clinic. It's a sleep clinic in Lincoln. It's about 20 minutes from the Taipei City. That we call Sim Center. Because usually we thinking about looking for a doctor. We think about looking for pediatric. We're looking for if you got a call, you find the internal medicine. If you got hurt, you got a surgeon. But what if you got a condition you don't know which kind of specialty you want to look for? In Taiwan, you have to look at every kind of doctor and ask their opinion. And they say, okay, that's not my field. I will refer you to this. Oh, sorry, I'm running out of my time. So this is another new area that we try to focus on one thing, on one. If you got any problem with sleep, you don't worry about. You have to look in for which kind of doctor. Then you come to this tiny clinic, and then you will receive a full assessment using the medical technology developed in the recent year. Then we connect to the dental clinic, ENT clinic, and medical device, and also psychologists, nutritionists, respiratory therapists. They make up a team. The team can solve your problem in one time. You don't have to shop around all the clinic that we see. So innovative healthcare delivery, I think the impact is redefine the meaning of specialty. You don't have to look into some specialty. He had a special skill for some condition. You just bring your problem to a specialty that can deal with all your problem. Okay. So the final one, I will just give the slide is, but I think it's very important, but also have been mentioned by David and Bruce, it's a paradigm shift in healthcare. Because usually we treat a doctor as a firefighter, some alien. They just came in and risked your life and live. As you can see, the mortality rate in the past 100 years, the medical science did help. But when you break into acute condition and chronic condition, you can see there's no change, little change in chronic condition. So we can treat the disease, as Steffen said, the lifestyle disease, or in Japan they call habitual disease. Then the problem with the habitual disease is they have to they need not a doctor but a coach to coach you how to shape your life, to modify your lifestyle. So I think the they were important 4A for a good coach is accessible, available, and achievable. So achievable is you have to afford a program. They can do it by yourself. I just give you a very simple example. There's an app we developed and through the help of Everett's company, Golden Smart Healthcare. And it's a simple app. And some people drop in my clinic and he say he cannot sleep. He have a very disruptive sleep-wake cycle. But he had no time to come back in the next 4 weeks. So I say, okay, you using the app, we communicate by the app. Then he write down it the first week. You can tell he cannot sleep on time. So I ask him through the app, you have to stick on your bedtime. Okay. Then the second week they say, I tried, but I cannot successfully falling asleep. And I say, no problem at all. You just try the third week and try the fourth week. And he not coming back in the next 3 weeks, but he did and have a good sleep quality. So achievable, available, accessible. But the last thing we're missing is attractable. You know, the medical way is not a really achievable one. So Steffen talking about the gaming is very, very important. How to keep the life change, life modification become sustainable. I think is our next goal and probably the most important task nowadays for innovative healthcare delivery. So the paradigm shift in healthcare is changing the role of doctor in healthcare. No longer a firefighter, but a coach to encourage people keeping their way to living a healthier lifestyle. Okay, that's all. Sorry about the time.
You need to unmute. Professor Dean, you got to unmute.
Yeah, sorry. It's very interesting to see as a professor and the doctor from the big hospital, you are actually having your own business, running a clinic. And this is my personal point. Actually, what you are doing for what we call the Western medicine is actually running quite well. The same idea you are talking about, like we want to keep our health, for the example, chronic disease, and we go to the Chinese medicine instead of the Western medicine. And for many Chinese medicine clinics, they have this similar treatment like what you were talking about. And so what you're doing is trying to shift the idea of the normal people, maybe in Taiwan, or perhaps in Asia, that they're sharing the same idea when they see the Western the medicine-related doctors. They were having the same feeling like going to see the Chinese doctors. Would that be correct?
It also is because Western medicine is kind of more evidence-based. But because the majority, they are focusing on the treatment of acute condition. So they focus on the advanced medical technology. But the medical knowledge itself could be reflected into your lifestyle. As Bruce and Steffen say, drink less, exercise more, sleep better, They will keep you healthy. You don't need a big surgery. You don't need organ transplantation. You don't need that kind of advanced medical technology. That's what we try to do, to bring the medical knowledge and nowadays information technology to the community, try to facilitate the healthcare. Yeah.
I have one more question is relating to this year's pandemic. Do you find maybe it will be the question for your own clinic? Do you find any innovative clinic models that will be able to realize and practice in the current clinic? You know, you're running this kind of clinic, how you can improve based on this year's incident?
Yeah, to my thought, it's very important. If a doctor want to be a coach, the coach need to be available all the time. So you have to utilize the information technology, not only online, because offline is very important, because the relationship built up with doctor and patient. Then when you're going home, then we can keep the coaching through the online program, the monitor, the encourage to shape their lifestyle. So I don't think that telemedicine will be solely communication through through line or through WeChat, everything like that. But you have to face-to-face. But in between, you can communication with your patient via online, even the people behind the screen and not yourself, but your care manager or other staff. Yeah, so that my thought, and probably we also try to bring that into our new clinic.
Okay, thank you, Professor and Dr. Lee. Thank you. I would like to invite the last speaker, who is the owner and founders of Golden Smart Home Technology. His sharing is smart house promotion. Welcome, Albert.
Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Can you see my, yes? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So my topic is smart circuit exercise. So I would like to introduce you what my company is doing now. Health is very, very important at this moment, because COVID-19 is very, very terrible. So it is time to do health promotion activity to improve immunity, especially those elderly people, middle-aged people, so-called sub-health people, hyper people, and so on. What is health promotion? Based on the statement of World Health Organization, health promotion is the process of enabling people to increase control over and to improve their health. Exercise, I believe exercise is very, very important to health promotion. So I need to find a good exercise. There are 4 categories that I am thinking. The first one is, can this exercise be more efficient? Because users do not like to take a long time for workout, like me. And second one is, can this exercise be more persistent? Because users will easily give up because of any reason. The third one is, can this exercise be more professional? I think to help users to solve their problems, such as overweight, sleep disorder, is very, very important. So we need experts' help. And last one is, can this exercise be more cost effective? So I guess less need of human being coach definitely can save money. I believe that circuit training is a good solution. two British professors, Morgan and Anderson, promote this idea since 1953. Their idea is short time of interleaved weight training and aerobic training to improve muscle and heart lung function. As you can see, many activities shown below were introduced by these two professors. So I would like to use the concept of circuit training to develop our own ring goal. So what is the design target of ring goal? After discussed with many professors, doctors like Dr. Lee, and we come up below several ideas. The first one is this exercise must be efficient. So we hope each course only costs 30 minutes. And the second one is several people work out together can really improve persistency because people can encourage each other. And the third one is we would like to have one platform that experts can easily put their idea in to solve some problem like sleep disorder. And the last one is I believe big data analysis could be an assistant of human being coach. So how can Ringo make targets happen? The first one, we would like to design a program structure with warm-up phase, with muscle training phase, aerobic training phase, and cool-down phase. So totally 30 minutes. And second one for persistency, we would like to design a course with a group of people who can encourage each other. The third one for profession, we would like to design an app in our AI coach platform that experts can easily put their expert opinion in. And the last one for cost-effective, suggested resistance, suggested speed, and the exercise scores are analyzed from big data. That will be very useful data for human being coach. So human being coach can focus on newcomers, face-to-face communication, some more valuable things. This slide shows you there are 4 portions. The first one, as you can see, 6 minutes of warm-up, and then 30 seconds for muscle training on machine, and then 30 seconds of aerobic training on floor. And basically, the muscle training and the aerobic training take turns. So each training only for 30 seconds. Because we have 8 machines, so if we run 2 loops, then totally 16 minutes. And finally, we have 5 minutes of cool down. So our Ringo requires at least 8 people to join the course. So everybody can encourage each other to improve persistency. And from this slide, you can see a doctor is putting his idea through the cell phone, and the data also work together with users' personal data, and then come up to a personal training prescription for sleep improvement course, for muscle gaining course, for weight management course. So I will say we put the expert idea with our plenty of data, and finally we can solve people's problem. to have a coach to do more valuable things. So in this slide, you will see our big data analysis and aerobic video can really help. So the video you just watched to show you there are four very important portions. The most important portions is our muscle training and the aerobic training. These two portions take turns. So each one costs 30 seconds and totally because of 8 machines, because of 2 loops, so totally 16 minutes. And the next video, you will see our AI coach. So there are 2 important portions in our AI coach. The first one is AI analysis mode, is to test how strong you are. So later on you will see, especially for user, is the first time to have a workout on this machine. And the second portion is normal mode. So you will see the machine is execute the doctor's prescription. So please watch my next video, please. So in previous video, you already seen our machine. We provide user a score. This score comes from your workout status is uploaded to the cloud, and compared to the average score of those who are the same age with yours. So that is kind of big data analysis. So the score encourages you to try to reach your goal. And the machine also provide you suggested resistance level, also suggested speed. So when you are doing the workout, the AI technology is helping you to do the right way. So I am going to show you my third video. In next video, you will see users are doing workout without human being coach. The users are led by video. Let's watch my next video, please. Thank you. So they are quite enjoying their exercise on, right? Okay, so the next slide, I am going to show you our smart health kiosk, because this device is very important, because your personal static physiological data is collected by this machine. So your personal data from static machine and also from your workout machine, then these two kinds of data and really help our AI to do the right judgment. We also have some so-called cloud medical devices, including Bluetooth, for example, a glucose meter and glucose and Bluetooth blood pressure monitor, and so on. So these cloud medical devices help users to collect their data from their house. So I will show you some successful cases. The first one is one community center in Hsinchu City. So yeah, you can see many users are quite enjoying their exercise, doing aerobic exercise and also resistance exercise. Totally follow our program design, and they are doing weight management course. Another example is one wellness center in Shandong. You can see these users are enjoying their also weight management course. And one community center in Taipei, and one private clinic in Cambodia, and one daycare center in Taichung. Many senior people doing workout here. One wellness center in Thailand, and one citizen exercise center in Taipei, New Taipei City, and another one in Lincoln, New Taipei City. So, join Ringo. I hope Ringo will be is attractable. Like Dr. Lee just said, I think our Ringo technology can cooperate with many places like a wellness center or innovation clinics or daycare center and weight management centers and so on. So I very quick go through my presentation and thank you for your listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert. I think Dr. Lee's clinic has a very big space, or maybe next to it. You can run your own fitness center next to his clinic in Lincoln City.
Yes. I hope so. Yes.
Yeah, I've been seeing he has been using quite a lot of your equipment in.
Thanks for Dr. Lee choosing our product. We are very proud of it.
Yeah, I have one question regarding the Ringo equipments. If there's a physical restrictions constraint, can those equipment to be able to becoming less instead of 8 equipments? Have you considered this?
Yes, you can pick 6 or 4, but not too less because I need to sell more machines. Generally speaking, there are 3 categories among my 8 machines. One category is to train your arm, chest, and the second category is to train your leg, and the third one is to train your core muscle. So if you really have some space restriction, I would like to suggest you to discuss with us and what's your target customers. We can help you to choose.
Thank you. Okay, that's all my question. And I have a final. I'm sorry. Right now we are passing 6 o'clock. 10 minutes passing 6 o'clock. 2 more or 5 more minutes. Would like to all of you to answer this question because this is design marathon, and I would like you to answer me a question regarding designs. And if you know this answer, you can tell me. And what are the roles of the designer in the health industry? What do you think design can be meaningful or helpful to the health industry, to health design?
I think, if I may start.
Yeah, please.
I think there's, and we've seen this today several times in all the talks, design means that you're trying to understand the audience, who ultimately uses the product or whatever service you created, right? And Bruce, for example, mentioned the design of architecture, that you have less space, that you don't want big robots. We've seen that there is a certain way of organizing in the circuit exercise groups, and that probably doesn't work everywhere that way, I would hypothesize. I have mentioned that we looked into demographics. What is it that people like? Gardening. So designers are used to think what we call human-centric, right? We really try to understand the audience, the circumstances. Someone once said, what are given circumstances? This really, to me, encapsulates nicely what we as designers are very trained to think about when we design for a situation. Or like you, Daniel, with the calligraphy, right? What's there? What is it that people are used to that I can piggyback on, that I can use to jump upon, and that I can then make a turn towards a certain goal that I have? So I really like that thought that given circumstances and the consideration of that and what that means ultimately to make your design a success, that's what we can contribute to the health industry.
Thank you. Thank you, Steffen. Are there sharings?
I'll say what. Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead, Dr. Lee.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to mention that to my point of view, that design is very important in medical, because when we talk about medical knowledge, it's like a skeleton. The skeleton don't have meat on that, don't have muscle on that. Doctor will suggest, okay, you go to exercise. Then patient asks, what kind of exercise I should do? Then I will say, you can jogging, you can do what that, and the patient will ask, doctor, did you exercise? I said, no, I have no time. So, yeah, to me, the wrinkle, like the elbow grow up, is very important, because they are the solid physically, and it's a good design product. It's a very practical object you can prescribe. Okay, and sometimes they don't need not exercise. I just want to mention an example. Years ago, there is a famous game, Pokemon, in Asian countries. I mean Taiwan, Japan, and one of my patients, he suffered from depression, and he had never gone out his house for 2 years. At one time, he came back and his family say, that past 2 weeks, he went out every night. I'm worried about his depression turning to be manic. It's bipolar disorder. No, but he said, no, I'm getting a little better. Why you go out every night? He say, I have to find out the Pokemon, because the mobile game is encouraging people to go to the street to find out some monsters, some character in the app. So the game can do what doctor cannot do. So it's sustainable, attractable. I think it's a key element to modifying our lifestyle, and they're very important in medical science and healthcare. But we need designer. No, a doctor cannot really give a very good, you say, the statement or suggestion with content to make the people do it. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Please, Bruce, you have something to say?
No, I'm pretty much agree with what everybody's saying here. I think my video froze. But I think the thing about designers is you have to step outside of your comfort zone. You have to step outside and look from a different point of view. And then you have to step inside and become the user. So you have to set understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then you have to actually become the device. And when you really understand like how easy it is to use, how long the battery lasts, how hard is it to move things around, to actually use things, and even if it's through prototyping and just using wood for machines and stuff, really understanding the user case, the user experience. I think success and failure of products and technology is based upon the user's experience. If they like it, then they tell their friends. And there are some products that are out there in the healthcare or the exercise world that are really, really simple, but the user experience is just really exciting. But from a technology point of view, it's really, really old. So, and they're very rich right now. So,
okay.
We as technologists think we're right, but
Albert?
we're wrong. It's the user experience.
Yeah.
Yes, Albert. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as to me, I'm a ICT engineer, so I would like to be a bridge between my target customers and to know what is their needs. And I also want to find some resource, find some solution from expert side, like a medical field, some expert in medical field or in health field. And I bridge both of them, and I will see, I will check how I can contribute myself to make this bridge more efficient, make this bridge more professional to solve my target customers' problem. That's why I want to say.
Thank you, Albert. I would like to add, I think the current understanding of designer is pretty much like we are trying to understand health. In general, that health is no longer like treating and curing your disease. It has broader meaning. So we always try to say, which is very cliche to a lot of designers. We will say everyone is designer. But I really think that if you are trying to communicate and making the user their experience better, and you are a designer, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you're dressing like Daniel and you're like a designer. I think all of you are designing things. So as long as you are
It's
willing,
a mindset. It's a mindset, isn't it, Daniel?
yes, it's a mindset. You want to make things better, like an inventor. So a designer can be in a broader, sense. Yeah.
I think what's changed, if I may add that, because I think this mindset has always existed with us as humans. We try to improve stuff, and if you look back in the 50s and 60s, then engineers were, at least mostly in Germany, were regarded as the most important people, right? Because they were trying to improve something. What's really changed is that we have rehumanized that kind of discussion. The human has come back. And now you said something, Dan, that I really like, that I fully agree with, is I think it's time that we need to take the next step and say, it's not just humans, it's really the environment. It's our fellow creatures. It's the dogs and cats that we live with, right? So there needs to be a different way of thinking about design where it's not just about us as people.
Thank you, Steffen, for sharing. And it's a great pleasure once again to invite all of you to be here, Steffen, Bruce, Dr. Lee, and Albert. And I hope to see you once again very soon.
Yes.
Maybe in Steffen's conference. Yes, Steffen, you can organize us. I'll be your guest. I'll be your guest.
Yes, please do attend, but we also need to meet in person. We will. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
So
It's a pleasure, guys.
yeah, it's right now 8:20. I'm sorry for the delay, and I hope to see you again. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Yeah,
Have
you
a good
too.
lunch.